Nathan, if you want to say a couple of things before we lead into the status updates. These are the 8 projects that will be giving updates today.
Yeah, I think I've covered everything other than I'm super excited to see this taking off. There's a lot of enthusiasm, so I'm really excited to hear from you all. So with that, Aditya, are you here and ready?
Yes.
Also, sorry, one other thing. People can just talk for 5 minutes, but if you want to share your screen, you can do that. So just let us know.
Cool. Hopefully I'm unmuted and you guys can hear me. But I was going to talk about cool. I was going to talk about ZecWallet, ZecWallet Lite. So for those of you who don't know, ZecWallet Lite is a light client for Zcash, and there's 2 things I want to quickly sort of update everyone about. One is like I added a bunch of messaging features to ZecWallet Lite. One is like support for like long memos, like Zcash. The protocol supports only 512 byte memos, but the UI now wraps wraps the feature such a way that you can send basically any length memos, and the UI will split it up across multiple transactions and reassemble it on the other side through the protocol. So that already launched, and there's a couple of additional things I'm planning to add, which is sort of newsletter support, which is, I think, taking off pretty well across the ecosystem. So you'll be able to sort of type out a big memo and then add a list of addresses, and then with one button you can like send it to everybody. I'm a bit worried that this might cause blockchain bloat. I had some ideas over at the in Discord of like how to do repricing. So right now, all transactions are flatly priced, which may not be a good idea going forward. So if you guys have opinions, there's like a discussion going on Discord of like how we can change pricing, like TX pricing. So you know, just give me a feedback. And also, like, I'd love to hear from people who are actually sending out these newsletters, like you know, what kind of additional features you might like in this. Like, I thought of adding like HTML rendering or even Markdown rendering, but that sounds a little bit dangerous. So just let me know. You can catch me on Twitter or you know, on the ZecWallet website. The second quick thing I want to update people is like, I'm also working on a mobile version, like Android and iOS apps for the Lite client. I haven't submitted a proposal yet, but hopefully I can do it on the grants website pretty soon. I'm like, the interesting thing here is like, I'm trying really hard to make it a single code base so that all of the ZecWallet Lite clients, so you know, Mac OS and all the desktop ones, Mac OS, Linux, Windows, Android, iOS, and even the web version have the same code base. So I don't have to like maintain like different versions of it. We're kind of halfway there because the UI is now rendered in React and the backend is all in Rust. And these 2 technologies work across like all these platforms. So if you guys are interested in sort of helping me figure things out and make it, like, it's not perfect yet, but I'm trying to sort of move in that direction. So if people have expertise in this area, or if they're like kind of interested in collaborating with ZecWallet, as you guys know, is all open source. You know, it's all on GitHub. So just ping me, like we can chat. I'd love to see how to reduce friction around you know, maintaining multiple code bases, and so that we can have like a single unified Lite client that works across like any platform, and bug fixes and upstream fixes from Libra Zcash, they all sort of automatically percolate down.
1 minute.
Anyway, I can't remember how much time do I have. I think that's all the couple of things I had. I'm happy to answer questions if people have any.
Cool. Let's save questions for the end, but Elena pointed out it can help to put them in the chat channel so we can keep track of them. Thank you. All right, are we moving on to ZecPages? Hi, Michael.
Hey everyone, what is good? Great to be here. Truly humbling to be in a Zoom call with so many big brains. Awesome to see you all. Thank you for having me. Hi, I am Michael Harms. I am a web developer. I made a fun little project called ZecPages, which can I steal the screen share? Can you de-share for a second, Nathan? Is that your screen? Thanks, man. All right, this is it. It is a charming little React app where users can create an account. They can associate themselves and some of their social media accounts with a Z address. You can filter the users to find people who have proven their identity through a side channel. You can find only users who have Twitter. You can filter by name and see if someone has a Zatter. Right now, there's maybe 140 people in there. Well, that's a nice multiple of 10. Feels good. This has been a fun adventure, just mostly because I haven't built too much with cryptocurrency products. And the most exciting part for me is this board. This board is powered by the Light Wallet, and it just runs. And someone tell me if there's a more efficient way to do this. Just every 60 seconds, there's a cloud computer that checks for new transactions. And if there is a new transaction that's above the threshold here, it makes a post request to the board with the admin token and adds the post to the board here. There's probably a more optimal way to detect new Z address transactions, but that's what worked for me. I've done it with the full node using like a Z list received by address, but again, it's just looping over and over every 60 seconds, checking for new stuff. So I would be interested to know if anyone has any suggestions on optimizing that. Anyway, this has been an adventure. I've learned a lot doing it. Per Nathan's suggestion, there is this easy way to just grab all the Zatters as a JSON object, so you don't have to share too much metadata while navigating the site, which is pretty neat. And I don't know, like 140 users is a lot more than I ever expected to have. We got 200 board posts. We've got like newsletters skating around the Zcash network, which is sort of what I wanted, right? Like Aditya is worried about blockchain bloat, and I think that's great, right? But part of what I wanted to do was like bloat the blockchain, so we think about that, right? And thankfully there's been some more transactions, right? I certainly am not saying that ZecPages is like the catalyst that made Z to Z transactions hit all-time highs for the last 2 months. That would be conceited and weird and baseless for me to say, so I'm definitely not saying that. I don't know if I have too much more to show. It's a pretty simple application. Once there's nice mobile wallets, these QR codes will be more relevant. It was a lot of fun to build. I will share actually the GitHub issue tracker in chat, and I would welcome, that's not the issue tracker. I would welcome any suggestions for where I could go with the application next, because this is very much just the MVP version 1.0, and I dream up, I don't know, a lot of places for it to go, and I never know if it's really worthwhile. So I would love any issues, any PRs, or any thoughts directed to that GitHub repo. That's where I do most of the tracking, and I don't know, yeah, I would really appreciate any feedback that you all have. I don't think I have too much else. So thank you so much. Truly an honor, and I hope you are all having a splendid day.
Thanks. Perfect.
Thank you.
Let's see. How do we get the screen share back? Nice. So we're doing well with both speakers under 5 minutes so far. I'm kind of disappointed I don't get to use the baby shark toy. But anyway, thanks so much, Michael. Next up, Holmes from Zbay. Welcome. Are you ready?
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Welcome.
So Zbay is an app for online communities and marketplaces built on the Zcash encrypted memo field. It's a Zcash wallet, but it also makes it really easy to send messages with other people, including group chats, and to buy and sell things. So in terms of a status update on the project, we got some early adopters from links that were getting shared on the Zcash forum and got some awesome feedback from them. And we're addressing some of the issues that came up in the process of testing with them. I think the next round of user testing that I'm doing is going to be focused on doing interviews with people over encrypted memos. I'm interested in like what happens when you invite someone, perhaps someone who's never used Zcash before, or maybe even like a crypto wallet before, to get Zbay and start using it to communicate. And then we'd have a kind of permanent transcript of those interviews on the blockchain. So if anyone is interested in being interviewed for that, that would be cool. I would like that. And in terms of work recently that's happened involving others in the community, we worked a lot with user OX arbitrage on the ZGetNotesCount API, which I think is an answer to the question Michael just brought up about optimizing checking a single address. So what that does is it lets us ask Zcashd for the total number of sapling notes that we've received at an address that we control. And then if that number doesn't change, we don't have to ask Zcashd for anything else. And if that number changed, we just have to ask Zcashd for specific things until we get the number of messages we expect, and then we can stop. So it increases performance dramatically in the wallet context, and probably in a lot of other contexts. And we're also working really closely with him as well on, or we worked really closely with him on the Z lists received by address pagination issue, so that again we can minimize the number of requests we're making to Zcashd and just get the transactions that we care about, the new ones, the ones we don't know about. And in terms of a request for collaboration, we're really excited about getting that work I just mentioned. So the get notes count stuff, I believe, is merged now, which is awesome, and we're using it. So that was like a total success story, and that was kind of the low-hanging fruit there. But the work on pagination is not merged yet, and we're really interested in seeing what we can do to get that merged, because it is quite a bit of work. So we're worried that it might get kind of stuck in the machinery of things, because it is, I think it would be very valuable to a lot of other wallet use cases as well.
Cool, I'll review that.
Awesome. So I'm also generally really interested in Tor and what claims we can make about what claims we can make for users using Zcash with Tor, and how we can strengthen what claims we can make, and generally make it so that users using Zcash with Tor do not reduce their overall security posture. Because one use case that we're interested in exploring now is Zbay as an anonymous communication tool for journalists. And in order for that to work, we would need to be able to at least achieve parity with existing solutions that people are using. So that's it for us. And I'm really interested in talking more with Aditya and with Michael about newsletters and memos that are strung together, and generally figuring out interoperability around that, so that our wallets kind of speak the same language in terms of how we use memos.
All right. Are you complete?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Wilcox from Zingo, you're on.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
This is my co-creator Hazel here. We work on the Zingo search augmentation distributed app, and we have a proof of concept here. The idea is that you can endorse content URLs, perhaps, that you have that are searchable using the encrypted memo field. And then when someone searches and they're also using the Zingo app, their search results will be re-ranked according to this crowdsourced anonymous endorsement process. So we have a screen share to show sort of the basic concept. And yeah, let's see. I think. So can we share Hazel's screen? What's your?
Yeah, we are active.
All right.
I see it.
So basic search result. Foo, we've got our search, regular, it's a search.
With the default order.
Yeah. If we load the web extension and It's generating a key adder, so it takes a couple seconds to load the web extension in.
About 12 seconds.
And now you'll notice Foo Fighters has been reordered to the top of the list, and it has our little Zingo icon there.
So that's indicative of somebody using an encrypted memo file to endorse that particular content, that particular URL.
And then over here, right now, we're not doing anything with it other than console logging it. But our background script has generated a test sapling address and sent it to the content script. Now, for example, the method we've used to endorse this, we have our little Zingo pop up here.
You want to probably show the
And test graphic. And then back here, we have a bunch of like debug stuff going on, but here we've received the address, and the theory with this is we're going to pass it to the memo field of a transaction that we make. Right now, we're not hooked up to a
wallet. So we need a nice light wallet, like maybe ZecWallet. So yeah, part of the point of that was to show the flow where you can just be browsing and there's a button next to URL. You simply click it, and that escrows some Zec against whatever content you're currently viewing. So there's a really easy flow there. Everything's implemented in Rust, compiling to WASM. And I think that is about it. That's our proof of concept that we sort of scrambled out in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks. You get the award for the first demo at the Gardening Club. Awesome. Thanks.
Well,
all right.
Oh, wait, ZecPages did a screen share, but yes.
Oh,
Slightly
yes.
different.
Sorry. That's true. That's true. But whenever I see typing on, yeah, that's true. Second demo. Okay. Let's move on.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, we're back to
Great.
the official screen share. All right, Mitchell and Pranav, welcome. Nice to meet you.
Hey, y'all. Do you mind if I take over the screen share real quick?
Go for it.
Okay. Everyone see this? Cool.
Yep.
So thanks, everyone. I'm here to share kind of a high-level overview and update about the Zcash Observatory. With me today is Pranav, who is one of the full stack blockchain engineers at Insight, who's really been kind of taking point on this project. I'm Mitchell. I lead the wing of Insight that is focused on R&D contributions to open source ecosystems. So feel free to email me if you ever want to hop on a call and jam about tech ideas. Okay, so let's talk about why we ended up working on the observatory. The Zcash Foundation has this awesome wish list of tons of things that the ecosystem could use built. We were looking at it last year and realized that about 6 of these all kind of like lumped together into a really solid like network security tool. And so we decided to go ahead and build that out. Kind of the big vision here is we have these individual observatory nodes that are in blue, and they're kind of embedded throughout the organic peer-to-peer network. And each of them is kind of measuring some extra features. So not just like when blocks have been recording them to the database, but also auxiliary timestamping, tracking the peers, and when they receive blocks, all of that. All of this data feeds upstream to a central database that will be open-facing towards researchers, developers, etc. If you've ever tried to like answer a research question using SQL versus like JSON RPC, you know that there's like a world of a difference. So we'll make that available for everyone. And then on top of that, we'll add this dashboard that allows you to navigate alternative and stale blocks, monitor for potential double spend attacks, selfish and stubborn mining detection, which if you're not familiar with selfish mining, it's when I mine a block, but I don't broadcast it yet, so that everyone keeps wasting their hash power. And then when I mine a second block, I broadcast them both. I didn't gain anything, but everyone else burned their hash rate on a stale chain. So there's that. We can also look at network performance, like exactly how block and transaction propagation time works and how that's impacted by size, etc. Network connectivity, network centralization, etc. So just some like fun early results. One is we looked at block propagation time. So this is when we heard it from the last peer minus when we heard it from the first peer. And we observed propagation times. So this is a histogram. So x-axis is propagation time, y-axis is just like count. And over 9 days, you saw that the majority of blocks propagated in like less than a second. But I have to add a huge disclaimer here that this is results from a single node. And by definition, the global propagation time will be longer than the local propagation time. So it'll take us about a month until we get more of these spun up and can actually give global statistics. Also, we looked at the real block interval. So I don't know if you haven't noticed, miner reported timestamps are garbage, right? They're not really enforced. They're like within some bounds, but you should never do research on miner reported timestamps. So we recorded when the blocks actually came in, and we see this like Poissonish distribution that you would expect. You know, averages about 75 seconds getting blossoms. Like things look pretty good. But let's zoom in really closely on the like x-axis. We see that there's like 200, 300 blocks that came within a second of the parent block. So this is very suggestive of like, if you want to add a threshold and say, okay, if you receive like 2 blocks a couple milliseconds apart, they will probably mined separately and then broadcast together. I have like 4 different algorithms for affecting selfish mining. This is just one of the more straightforward ones. As terms of the status update, the advanced logging has already been submitted to Zcashd. It's PR 4441, I think. The NetSec alerts are prototyped. The research pipeline is prototyped. All of this was generously funded by the Zcash Foundation, who really took a big risk and gave us kind of the like runway to start getting this going and actually get the observatory built. Our next stages are to actually start building public resources, right? So one of them is deploying this tool into an open source database, and then ultimately putting on that dashboard and front end, which will be free to all Zcash users. If you want to help support the public utilities phase, we accept donations to T addresses, Z addresses, or check out fellows.link/observatory dev if you have any questions, or contact me. That's about it. Thank you.
Perfect.
Let me share.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Moving on. Elena, can you reshare your slides? Thanks. 20 birds. Who's here from 20 birds? Anyone? Are you working with a mute button or are you not here? It's the key question I keep coming back to. All right, let's move on to the next.
Yeah, so I'll just get going. Stephen Smith, Director of Engineering at ECC. And no problem. First of all, to echo everything Nathan said, thanks everyone so much for being here, and thanks for the interest in Zcash and the community. These are some incredible projects. Yeah, I've had the opportunity to interact with a few of you in the past, and looking forward to doing more of that in the future going forward. What we thought we'd do today is, again, this is kind of a community-oriented call. We released something in release 212 that we thought could be of interest to the community and perhaps spur some additional interest around development of certain projects. I know Holmes from Zbay has been doing some work with viewing keys for quite a while. So what I wanted to talk about was our support for viewing keys that we released in release 212, which came out roughly April 23rd, I believe it was. Elena, quick question: are these slides going to be available after the fact? Because there's a lot of links in here. We can
They
also
are.
get those. Okay, cool. So the first link there, the Zcash payment API link, is the 212 doc that lists off like all the various API calls you can make, for example, around exporting viewing keys, importing viewing keys, etc. And also zip 310, which is linked there, specifies the security properties of viewing keys for sapling. At a high level, what it allows you to do is separate spending and viewing permissions associated with shielded addresses. And there are several use cases with that, obviously. One is it allows you to store your spending keys, if you will, in cold storage, but use the viewing key to see activity on your node with incoming, outgoing transactions. That's particularly useful for things like exchanges and custodians from a regulatory compliance perspective. I kind of equate it loosely to, my activity at a bank is private in the sense that, what I do around town, go buy groceries, go get takeout. Used to go to a few restaurants, but it's all takeout now. Things of that nature are private, but if, some organization or law enforcement agency came to my bank and said, we need to take a look at his transactions and we have the proper documentation that says we're authorized to do so, then the bank could share that activity. Similarly, with an exchange, for an auditor, they could show activity with a shielded address if you've allowed them to do so. So that's kind of the high level. I also linked the release 212 blog post in there, which has a summary of the different APIs. And in terms of community ask, it's kind of the same for everything we do. So community feedback and suggestions for improvements are always welcome. As well as PRs. We invite everyone to just hop in and make, submit improvements, changes, etc. So